the smart networker. So how the business works, the flow chart. So by definition, a flow chart is a diagram that shows a step-by-step progression through a procedure or system. Now, a number of years ago, I had another business, and as a result of the business, the gentleman in charge of promotion and marketing said we should do this movie. It was called It's a Digital World, and we were going from analog to digital in the telecommunications industry, and so that's why we created this video. But what we did for each scene was we created these storyboards, or I didn't, but the producer and the director did, which showed what the scene was going to be about, what was going to happen, and then it went to the next scene and the next scene and the next scene. Now, as part of my other education and training in business, I learned about flowcharts and having a step-per-step procedure, and it just made everything so much easier. You knew what the whole process was, and then you could look at where you were at and determine what was left to be done or what you had to do, what you'd already accomplished, was there anything missed, all of those kind of things. So it's a great idea, and what we're going to do here is we're going to take this, look at this, so you can utilize it in building your business. Okay. The idea of the flow chart is to see the entire process. It's to learn the process by going over it many times. So you go over it and over it and over it and over it, just like you would read your compensation plan over and over and over again until you really understood what it was, so you could utilize it in planning and strategy and communicating with other people. It's knowing what to do next. So you get to a step, and then now, well, what's next? What's the next step? What should happen? What's the theory here? And it's based on what's currently going on with whomever you're working with. So it's always about the person in front of you, because they're the most important person in process at that time. Now, there can be more steps in what I'm going to show you today. You could break it down further. You could add more things, but this will give you a really good general view. And then this can also be used to help you creating your presentation, your story, or how you're going to explain it or talk to somebody about it or show them what it's all about. Okay. So let's look at stage one. Now, any person that gets involved is contacted somehow. So we know the various ways to contact people. You can pick up the phone, you can send an email, you can send a text, you can run into somebody, you can do an advertisement, you can get on social media. But in order to get the whole process started, we have to contact somebody and start some communication going. Then the next thing that usually happens is we present the idea of what we want to talk to them about. We want to talk about business, we want to talk about health, we want to talk about lifestyle, whatever it is that you've got your focus on. But that's really what happens. So in all the businesses that I was associated with, whatever the product was that I was working on or producing, or what my role was as a person in that company, that would be what I would be talking about to present that basic idea. Now, the next thing that typically happens is one of two things. They become interested or they don't. That's the bottom line. So if the person that you're talking to sees a potential, solution in their mind, that's basically what happens. I'll give you some examples and how that might work. But I remember when I first got started in the business, and the gentleman presented, well, how would you like to have a Coca-Cola machine on every corner of every street, and every time somebody bought a nickel, every time somebody bought a Coke, you made a nickel, was the idea. Now I got that, and then I looked at that as a potential solution to what I was trying to do with my business, which was to become successful, make money, and enjoy my life. That was the idea. Now, they may not at this point in time, and they may, but not disclose it. So, but it can happen here when you present the idea, and we'll give you some other examples down the road as we get through this. So, the next step, number 5, is really where you want to go from 1 to 4. So, I mean, it's all to get to number 5. What's number 5? Well, it's the conversation. It's where you get down and you really kick the tires. This is where you really get into the nitty-gritty of what this is. And the person will go into that conversation if they're curious, if maybe they have identified something, if they're dissatisfied, or if they need a change in what's going on in their life. And it's all based on what you said. And it's based on how he interprets what you said. And that this is why this is such an important area, because we're all about communication. So the key is in what you say or how you deliver it, or what's talked about. But it's that conversation that typically is where everything starts to happen. Now, next, what happens typically is there's clarity about what the problem or issue that person has, and the person then can start to begin to see the potential of this being a solution to getting that handled. Okay, number 7. Now, in the conversation, it's pretty much, once you're at that point, the person does need something, and maybe it's been identified, maybe it has, but now they realize that they could get that by doing the business because of the conversation and the validation, what you show them. And it's at this point they start to ask questions of what to do or how to do it. Now, in order to solve that or provide more information, doing a 3-way would create more understanding and validity. So I found that very useful. Talk to somebody that's been successful, somebody's been doing it for a long time, whatever the case may be, gets a demonstration. Now, this could have been done earlier, but let's look at, say, the muscle test with the necklace that we now have on the internet, thanks to Michael. And again, this could have been done earlier, or you could do it yourself if you're in person, or something. Maybe it was water. The next thing after that is they buy products. Now, my direction with people is getting the waterfall, starting the wellness home, then becoming a distributor. Gives example. It shows them how to put money in their pocket. This is all an important part of the learning curve, but that's typically what happens. And then they decide to become a distributor, and with the intention of building a successful distributorship. Now, this final one, number 12, could have happened earlier, but this is just a rough idea of this could all happen in a day. This could happen in 2 days. This could happen in a week. This could happen after 3 or 4 calls. But it's the basic idea. So when the person starts asking questions on what and how to do it, you pretty much know what's next. You've got to start, well, how do we validate this for him, and where do we go? Has he seen a demonstration? Should he talk to the upline? Maybe you should do a 3-way call, or let's line him up with the power, with the powerhouse and a waterfall, etc., etc. Okay. Stage 1 through 12, very important. Now, once the person has made a decision that they want to become a distributor, and you've gone through the sign-up process, and you've got them to get a waterfall, and now the next part is knowledge, education, training. So from my experience, it was this area that was crucial to what was going to happen next. We're a business all about communication, so you have to know how and what to communicate to other people. So here's what I'm going to suggest here. Get the book Smart Networker. It gives you a great overview of the reality of what has to be done. Learn all about the company, the products, the business, how it works, all the ins and outs, and what needs to be done. So now the person has an overview. Now, I don't know anywhere in corporate America that doesn't do this. I don't know anywhere where you're hiring an employee to go to work where this does not happen. But it seems that in our business, network marketing, it happens all the time. People get enamored by a product, they have a great result, they're emotionally involved. Hey, you should become a distributor. Well, what do I do? Oh, it's $19.95, no problem. $30, no problem, whatever it is. And then they sign up, and then, okay, well, now just go talk to everybody you know. And, there's really no groundwork. So this is crucial in my opinion. So step 1, get trained. Step 2, get the book, start reading it. Step 3, learn about the company, the products, the business, how it works, and what needs to be done. Number 4, once that is done, 1 through 3, now this next part will make a whole bunch more sense. So let's put together a list of people to talk about the business and the product. So we get a list of people. Now, the next thing is we want to create a launch strategy. We're going to launch your business. Like if you went to school and you became an accountant or an attorney, you're finished, you got your degree, you got your license. Now you want to get your business started. So you want to launch it. You hang a sign, you maybe do some advertising, you get an office, you have a party, something to let the world know what it is that you do. I mean, if you remember it, or you might have, some of you have been on these calls and some of the stories, but in the sense of doing this, it was Ralph and Jerry. The first thing we did once they decided they wanted to go and we solved the issue and gave them a route, then the next thing was train. So we trained for a couple of weeks, and then we created the launch strategy, which was going to have 3 in-home parties at her home 3 weeks in a row. And her job was to invite as many people to those as possible. I'd do the presentation, we'd have products, we'd have demonstrations, we'd do all this sort of stuff. Well, the result of those 3 meetings was 3 key leaders that helped build her to her platinum distributorship and created the results that she wanted. And so this isn't an idle thought here. This is a strategy that's worked for everybody I've done this with. We've done the same thing. So the next part, which is we want to work on what to say and how to approach people on the list. So if it were my person, I'd go over the list and I'd want to understand who these people are, product or what's their situation. If it's business, what's their situation? So we can create some strategies and ideas of how you communicate. Now, you've heard about creating your story. Well, you've got your story, you've got the Nikan story, you've got all kinds of stories. But it's how do you say what you need to say, which then you want to practice with your sponsor or your mentor. And then maybe in the beginning, and this is also very important, I use this concept many times, is you do what's called the ABC, which is your mentor, your sponsor is the A, you're the B, and your prospect is the C, and you get on a call, and then you introduce both sides, and then the A, your sponsor, mentor, takes over and makes the presentation, and you sit back and listen. And I've used that very effectively, both being an A and being a B. So it's a great way to do it. But more importantly, this is done in all industries. This is done in anywhere where there's something being marketed or sold to somebody else. Is you've always got an expert, or you've always got credibility, and you've always got validity in somebody else. And that's what makes it so powerful. And then also somebody new can get started right away. I mean, you can just get started, use your sponsor, mentor, you just bring people to the picnic and away you go. So it's a great way to go. And you want to get together with your sponsor and learn all about how to do and set up an ABC. Number 5 is in this process, you're going to get customers, okay, going through the list, but the more you're also going to get distributors, and that's going to be the main focus. And this can also be done by, your sponsor helping you and so on and so forth. So now we're at 6. Now that's the end of stage 2. So if we look at stage 1, we've got the beginning, getting somebody interested, the communication, the conversation, and then they decide to do it. Now the next part is to give them all the goodies so that they can perform, so they can communicate. Every single company I ever went to work for, the first thing they did was 1 or 2 weeks worth of training, and to familiarize myself. And if there was marketing being done or a product being marketed or sold, it was, you were given a script. This is what you say. And because they, as a successful business, they had proven what worked best to get the results that they wanted to. Okay. Stage 3, climb the ladder. So if you have read the compensation plan, or if you're new, you want to read the compensation plan. This is the ladder. It starts at the bottom at direct distributor, and then it works step by step by step, or stair by stair by stair, all the way up to the top position called Royal Diamond. And there's a bunch in between. But the idea here is do one step at a time. So if you understand what the step is, and then you understand what the next step is, then you can see what you do to get to the next step. This is really important. So here's the first step. It's the senior rank, 500 points. So here are 2 examples of how you could do the 500 points. One, you could have your own product for demonstration purposes or personal use. You accumulate 500 points, you've got it done. Or you could get a customer and they buy the waterfall, say on the Powerhouse program, and you generate some cash flow, and then you purchase some additional volume or products to reach the 500 points, and that's done. You can probably see here that there's a gazillion ways to get this done. These are just examples, but I want you to see and understand the concept of getting to the first level. Now, let's take a look at the second level, and that's called executive. So you've done the first step. Now you're going to climb to the second step. But let's go back here for a moment and take a look at this step here. Now, if you'd studied your material, if you were working with your sponsor and mentor, and if you were really serious about building the business, you would probably look at the next two steps ahead of time. So you could see how this is going to come into a sequence of events. So you start here, but your thoughts are somewhere in the future, some future goal, some bigger proposition. So again, if we look at this, the executive, which is the 1,500 points, so it's 1,000 more than the senior. So if you looked at this, you could jump here right away. You could get $1,500 worth of product with your, the water pack, the energy pack, the sleep pack, or, you get a sleep system, you get a water system, some demonstration products. I mean, there's a whole host of things that you could do that are beneficial. These are all tax deductible if you go the business route. And so you save money on your taxes by doing so, but you have now what we would call employees, products that you can lend out to other people so they get experience. I'll just tell you a story because it's important. So my second month in the business, I had a gentleman that used to work for me, and I didn't put him on my list originally. But after I got with my mentor, he said, well, why didn't you put him on your list? He'd be great. And I said, well, I didn't think he'd like this. And he said, well, that's not your decision. Let him decide that. So I called him up and I said, Howard, I think I found the goose that laid the golden egg. And I told him about this Japanese company, and they had a sleep system. And I saw this article in Life magazine that said that 50% of the population can't sleep. And I said, I want you to try this product and see what you think. He said, sure, I'll try it. So I dropped off a mattress that I got in the first month as a demo product. And, we had a chit chat, and I left it with him and then carried on with my regular business stuff. 2 days later, after I delivered, he calls me up and he says, Dave, I don't know what this is, but I'm in. Now, I said, fantastic, but internally, I was thinking, whoa, this is amazing. Because I didn't do anything other than give them the product for 2 days. And so I said, well, what happened? And he said, I had the best 2 night sleeps I've ever had. And I always had a problem sleeping. And this was just fantastic. And what you told me, I started to think about this. And I said, oh my God, how many other people could benefit from this? So again, it's the old beauty's in the eye of the beholder concept, but I put some product to work. Now that created distributorship, and I want to tell you, we went all over. We had all of Hawaii, we had Arizona, we had California. We just had a huge business, and he helped me get all the way up to Royal, which was really a cool thing to do. But it was all based on this initial strategy. So now there's a second option here for executive, and again, you can see it by getting a customer, sponsoring a couple of distributors, and some personal product. But here's what I want you to look at again in your thinking process is when you get to the end, you can come back and go through it again. But the bottom line here is there's an unlimited number of ways that this could be done. And the idea is for you to look at what your resources are, and that's time, people, and money, and where you're at and what you're trying to accomplish and what might be the best way to go about it. Get with your mentor, get with your sponsor, go over this a gazillion times to make sure you understand it. And there's also all kinds of other tapes on daverolf.com that you can listen to, videos and so on and so forth. And then get the book, The Smart Networker, where all of this is outlined. So there's many ways to learn the information, but it's the strategy of utilization that becomes important. Okay. Now, the third step in the climbing the ladder is silver. So you got senior, you got executive, now you got silver. here's a picture of a silver distributorship. That's the 6,000 points. And it's got a combination of activities. It's got, now here you don't buy the 6,000 yourself because that's not going to work, because you want from here on out, it's with other people. So you got a couple of retail customers. We all need retail customers. You got some personal volume that you've done, but the main activity is done by the green guys, your distributor. And that's going to be for the rest of your career. That's how it works. So you sponsored 3 people, and one of them starting to sponsor people underneath them. They're doing the lion's share of the volume. They're helping you get to silver. And that's the idea. But now it's at this point, okay, that you want to be thinking about the next steps, because this is where it's all at. It's about building silver. So therefore, as you're doing this, you want to look at the future as to, well, who of these green circles, those are people, is the next person to go silver? Because once you go silver, that's your next focus. And we'll see that what happens. So that's step 4. So step 4 is gets to gold. Now you're going to get to gold by helping others go silver. That's going to be the best way. Now you can do it other ways. You can do it with product sales. You can do it with, executives and seniors. But if you really want to make this work for you economically, you've got to have other people that are doing the same thing. So the building of the silver is the key issue here. And the main benefit of being a gold distributor is so that you get paid to 3 generations below you. Not just, again, that's the benefit of getting to that level, besides doing the volume and having the people underneath you. So again, this is step 4. You want to examine this. You want to talk to this with your sponsor and mentor, so you really get an understanding of the idea, the concept, and how to think about the strategy to get this going. So in this particular picture, you went silver, and then you helped create 1 silver underneath you. Now you're moving to the next level, and you can see that there are two new silvers being created that are each doing 6,000 points. There's your 12,000, plus you got 1,500 with a new executive and 1,500 for one of the silvers producing. So that adds up to 15,000 points. You can't do it by yourself, and it's best to do it with as many people as possible. But again, this then sets up step 5. And step 5, you get to platinum. And in this particular example, I suggest that you get to platinum by building at least 8 silvers underneath you in your organization somewhere. And you can see the yellow ones are the existing leaders. And then the green ones, the new green ones, are the new silvers, NS, NS, NS. So 4 new silvers were created, and then a new executive, and it adds up to 30,000 points. Now, one of the important aspects of this is keep looking forward. So obviously, what's the next step? Is for these new silvers to break silvers. It's for the new distributor to become a silver. It's for you to find somebody else, for you to help your people develop their teams. And that's what it does. And then you get to the next 2 levels of diamond and royal diamond. After platinum is diamond, and then followed by royal diamond. Now, the achievement of these 2 steps is based on the number of leaders you create and the volume of business generated. So a diamond requires 100,000 OV, a royal diamond 300,000 OV organizational volume. And so you just piece it together just by looking at some of those other charts and draw more circles and add more volume, and you can see how it adds up. It's pretty simple. It's not that difficult. So there's your step-by-step flow chart. And the whole idea is to start at the first step and work each step, keep moving up, work each step moving up. The idea, once you go over this a few times, then you start to see a pattern happening with people that you talk to. You start to see what to do next, so you're never stuck. It's like, okay, so you phone somebody up and they say, well, this sounds interesting. Then you know what to talk about next. All right, great. So we should get together, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. You want to get to that main conversation. Once they get on and become a distributor, what's the purpose of them becoming a distributor? So they can build it and get a benefit from doing so. So now here's the steps of what you got to do. So anyway, hope this helps. I'll stop the share here, and we'll now enter into, I'll end the recording for now, and see you soon on the Smart Networker.